What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the Lock and Cash podcast. This is your early market review for week 3 in the NFL. Lots of interesting spots. I have a bunch of interesting trends and systems and everything we're going to talk about. I'm excited for this episode. We've got a lot going on. 4-2 in week 2, a very nice bounce back week 2. We cashed a nice plus 150 parlay. We cashed our biggest bet of the week, which was the Chargers, which, by the way, I posted over in the shorts section on YouTube. So if you're watching these, make sure you check out the shorts as well. I give some stuff over there. Our one ATS loss was Houston. Oh, man, we would have swept sides against the spread in week 2 because we had Green Bay, San Francisco, Houston, LA. So everything comes through except for the Texans had the lead late. And of course, Baker. Man, the Buccaneers were two, in my opinion, fraudulent wins so far. Hell, they're really good against the rush, though. I will give them that. The defense is very good against the rush. But Baker fumbling the ball around, throwing balls up for grabs that could have easily been intercepted a couple times, just making ridiculous play after ridiculous play. I don't know what that's about, but he makes the game-winning drive, and the Buccaneers steal it. So that was our one side that lost. Everything else came through, so that was nice. 4-3 in college as well, so that was good too to bounce back there. We'll look to keep it going. We're in the groove now. We're feeling the vibes are good, the mojo's there, and this slate for week 3 is very interesting. I'm not going to say I love a ton of spots, but it is a very interesting slate, which we'll get into that. Get into the reasons for that going forward. Before we start, remember you can get my picks texted to you, free picks. You can do this right on the screen, text, or there's a link down in the description where you can just put your number in the box. It'll just send you an automated message. So the one over the weekend was the Niners -3 that came through. So if you want to get a college and NFL play for this weekend texted to you for free, it kind of gives you like a taste of how the service is. You'll get the free pick text, and then you'll get a 50% off offer as well at the end if you want to join for full access. So that's up to you guys. The info is down below. All right, we'll start with the Miami Dolphins taking on the Buffalo Bills. This is your Thursday night football game. We've got 11.5s, mostly across the board. There's a couple 12s out there, total sitting at 49.5. Listen, this is not going to be a fun game. It'll probably be ugly. I'm expecting a Buffalo rout in this one. Am I running to lay 12 points against a divisional opponent? No. Even if I think it's going to be a blowout, it's just one of those spots where you just don't run to go bet it. I don't see. I line it at 12.5. So we're not crossing any key numbers here. We're not. It's just not worth it for me. Total's interesting because I think this could be one of those games, like the Jets game, where the Bills can score a ton of points, run it up, right, and the other team just gets stifled. Okay, and because of that, like the Jets Bills total was 47.5. It went under comfortably because the Jets only scored 10 points. I think you could see something similar like that in this game. So I lean slightly to the under 49.5, I think is a bit high. But again, it's just a lean in this game. At the end of the day, guys, the Bills might not lose in the division. Honestly, they might not lose a single divisional game this year because Josh Allen is just that good. And obviously I'm a Jets fan. You can see the merch in the back, but I had no faith. Jets were like the sharpest side of the week. The 8s early, the 7.5, 7s all got taken out. 6.5. I never even looked at that game because I never had any confidence that they would do anything against this team. They're just a juggernaut offensively, really, really good offensively. I don't think Miami's going to be able to stop them at all, and I don't think they're going to be able to hang on the other side of the ball. So, to me, I part of early season is not overreacting to a game. So yeah, okay, don't overreact that the Dolphins laid an egg in Indy to open the season, but then also don't overreact that they put up some points on New England's defense, which is not good either. It's not a good defense. So for me, I lean under in this game. The side, to me, it's Buffalo or pass, but it's a hard pass. I'm not gonna bet the game. One thing that I'll say is about Josh Allen when I watch him play now, man. It's like earlier in his career, he had the potential, the big plays were there, the big arm was there, but he would make mistakes here and there. He makes no mistakes now. It is unbelievable how, maybe I just jinxed him, how careful he is with the football, how accurate he has become. I mean, it's just, you rarely see a play where it's just he makes the wrong decision. It just seems like every single play, drop back, whether he scrambles, throws, takes the short throw, goes for the big shot. It just seems like the right decision is always made, and that is just unique when you with that's hard to find at the quarterback position. So he is just, yeah, I'm not looking to get in front of Buffalo for a lot of games this season. So let's move over to Sunday. We're started off with the Tennessee Titans hosting the Indianapolis Colts, a divisional game. Tennessee gets 3.5 in this one as a home dog. 43.5 is your total. The Colts coming off of that very exciting walk-off win as they beat the Broncos as a home dog. Now they step into a unfamiliar role for them as a road favorite, especially a road favorite that's laying above a field goal. So to me, this is interesting. I got to initially look to Tennessee in this spot. Do I want to run and back them? No. Did they look better against the Rams? Absolutely. Cam Ward looked much better in that game against the Rams. Obviously, the mistakes late created the separation, but that final score was a little bit misleading because the Titans had a lead in the third quarter of that game. And I had Rams money line in our parlay to cash a plus 150 ticket. So I was sweating a little bit. Then finally, the LA was able to pull away. I don't love this Titans. I think the Colts defense is definitely improved over last year, much improved. But at the same time, they played this Miami team, which we now have seen what they are. Okay, Miami is going to be a bottom feeder team, a bottom probably 7, bottom 5 team possibly. So they stifled them. Then the Broncos came in a much better team, put up some points on them. All right, they did. They were able to move the ball. The Broncos offense looked good in that game. So this Colts defense, as you're trying to peg these teams early on the season, kind of like accurately profile them, I think they're good, but I'm not so sure to say that they're above average. I think the Titans can hang in this one. Also, remember, first road game for Indy. We have not seen what they look like away from home. Okay. They have a good home field. They play indoors. You're going outdoors now, laying it against a divisional opponent. I just probably won't play the game, but lean to Tennessee and wouldn't be surprised if we're sitting here next week talking about the Titans' first win for Cam Ward. Another divisional game. This is a good one too. Atlanta, the Falcons, coming off of their big win on Sunday Night Football. They are facing the Panthers in Carolina. And across the board right now, you can find 5s and 5.5s. 43.5 is your total. And this is another one of those situations, guys, where the spot is there. You just have to ask yourself, do you want to bet a bottom 5 team? The Titans and the Panthers, the two games that we're starting off with here, are the clear, in my opinion, sides to look at in these matchups. This number is too high. I don't have Atlanta laying 5.5 on the road against Carolina if I were to line the game. So the number is too high. I totally think that. The Panthers have played 2 road games, so we're going to see what they look like at home, which last year they were better at home. Okay, just like the Colts are going to play their first road game, the Panthers are going to play their first home game. These are very interesting spots because you cannot accurately profile a team until you see how they play home and road. And there's a few teams that we have not seen in either scenario. So you'll see how the Panthers look at home. You'll see how the Falcons look on the road. Okay, laying points on the road. It's one thing to just win a road game, but laying points on the road. So I think the side is clearly it's Panthers or pass. But the theme of these first 2 games, which we'll get to a different game after this, but the first 2 games, the theme to me is clearly, what is your betting philosophy? Do you bet on bottom 5 teams? Do you find garbage, dumpster fire teams and try to identify spots where they can be trustworthy or reliable? Is 5.5 enough? You're not getting the key number of 6. You're kind of in that dead zone, right? If the Panthers lose by 6 in that game, will you be kicking yourself and saying, oh, gosh, of course, why, So this is the type of, I think thinking that way is very valuable when handicapping NFL games because it's not always about finding the win. It's a lot of times about avoiding the loss, the silly loss. Like, well, of course, why did I pick the Titans? Of course, right? So my betting philosophy is I will all day look for situational spots that are strong or profitable or rest advantages on those middling teams that may be in desperation, like a Tampa, like a Denver, like kind of like those teams in the middle, like maybe even Chicago, Indianapolis, not Indianapolis, Jacksonville, like those kind of teams that are stuck in the middle pit. But do I want to go to the bottom of the barrel with New Orleans, Carolina, Tennessee? I had my one Panthers play for the year in week 1. I think I'm good. I think I'm good on the bottom 5 teams going forward. So lean Carolina, but not going to play the game. All right, you've got the Raiders headed to Washington. Vegas coming off of a bad loss. They're getting 3.5 points at the Commanders. This was just 3 before I was recording, so something. There was a couple threes out there. Now there are no threes out there as far as I can tell. So the Commanders laying 3.5. By the way, it's 3.5 because Jayden Daniels is questionable with a knee injury, but this line is kind of telling you they're expecting him not to play. Or, probably doubtful. Maybe this drops even further once he's actually ruled out, but I don't think it's going to go much lower. Listen, I made that little short, which you may or may not have seen on the Chargers last night, and I said it's just a bad matchup. Don't overreact to the Raiders defense from week 1, although the defense hung in there. I mean, they only allowed 20 points. But the offense was not what you saw in week 1. Now, to be fair, the Chargers defense I'm very high on the Chargers this year. That secondary is just, man, it is hard to find explosive plays through the air on them. If you watched that game last night, they just let you dink and dunk. The Geno kept taking what they were given, dinking and dunking, made a couple mistakes, but dink, dunk, dink, dunk. You end up like killing 6 minutes of clock. You get nowhere. You're moving like 30 yards down the field. So it's very tough. And so I think the Raiders offense will look a little better versus the Commanders defense. The problem here is, though, you're coming off the Monday night game, the late Monday night game. You're at a 4-day rest disadvantage. Remember, Washington played on Thursday Night Football. They got beat up by the Packers. The Raiders got beat up by the Chargers, and the Chargers, a very physical team, push you around, bang you up. So having a 4-day rest advantage and now going to Washington outdoors where Geno is way worse, to me, lean Washington. Even with Mariota playing, I would like, if I could get a 3, if a 3 comes back into the market, I'd look at Washington at -3. They're coming off the loss. They've got the rest advantage. And if you saw any of the time that Jayden Daniels has missed so far when Marcus Mariota steps in, it's pretty seamless. I mean, he's not as dynamic. He's maybe doesn't have as much accuracy, but man, he's still very mobile. He can run and he knows the offense really well. He's been there for a while now. It's not like you have a new backup that's his first year or something. Mariota knows the offense. He can run it. They can rely on moving the football on the ground against the Raiders. I think Washington will still win and cover this game, in my opinion. But as always, it's always about price. So if you can get a 3, I like the Commanders -3 in this one. Total, no opinion really. It's 44.5. I don't really have an opinion on that, but I do lean to the Commanders laying a field goal at home. All right, the next game up on Sunday, 1 p.m. Eastern slate, we're looking at the Green Bay Packers taking on the Cleveland Browns. This was you can still get, there was a 9 when this opened. Green Bay laying 9 on the road against Cleveland. It's now down to 7.5. Bovada has a 7. BetOnline is 7.5. There's 8.5s out there. So numbers all over the place. But to me, this is a good spot for the home dog. All right. I was looking at Cleveland at 9. It got bought down a little bit. I still like them at 8.5. Strong lean to the Browns in this one. This is just your, it's just one of those spots, right? Go back and ignore the final score of the Ravens-Browns game and just watch that game or watch highlights from that game. It was a much closer game than the final score suggests. The Browns were able to move the football on them. Obviously, there were key mistakes there, and the Baltimore defense did a good job of taking advantage, but they were able to move the ball. It did not look as bad as the final score suggests. Now, and that was on the road. Now you bring this team back home where they played, the Bengals, who are, they're 2-0, but they're not a good, not a impressive 2-0, but they're still 2-0. But the Browns played them very close, only lost that game because they missed an extra point. So the Browns at home, I think, can play pretty good defensively, can give the Packers some issues. It's just about, can you score enough points to get within this number? It's a big number, though, 8.5, a big home dog. That's a big number. Green Bay might get caught here a little bit, right? They're coming off the Thursday game, so you've got extended rest. You're headed on the road. It's a non-divisional opponent. You've got Dallas on deck. They've got to go to Dallas after this game. That's a rematch of the playoff game that they played. So to me, pretty interesting spot to back the home dog. I like Cleveland getting 8.5. I wouldn't be surprised if this is one of those games where the Packers win, but maybe there's a bet you're driving down with a chance for the back door. Or it was just a close game. Maybe the Packers win by like 4 or 6 or something like that. I'm still confident that Green Bay will win, but remember this Cleveland team can be a little bit dangerous if there's opportunities to throw the football. Now the Packers pass rush could definitely be problematic. They've got to give Flacco time. He can't move back there. So, but if Flacco has some time to throw, he can sling it obviously, and he's a vet, and he's been doing this for a really long time, obviously. So the mistakes that he made in the Baltimore game, some of them were throws that you would never expect him to make. So I don't really see him doing that again, is what I'm getting at, because he's been doing this for a long time and he kind of knows the deal. So, it's a little ugly, it's a little gross. I like the Browns getting 8.5, the biggest home dog on the board. I like that. I'm not gonna have much on this game for you, but we've got the Bengals taking on the Minnesota Vikings. Vikings lose on Sunday Night Football. You've got the JJ McCarthy ankle sprain now, I guess it is a high ankle sprain, where he's going to probably miss a couple of games. He looked horrible anyway. I'm not even sure you're getting much of a downgrade. It's probably a little downgrade, but to Carson Wentz. But at least he's fresh, healthy. Kevin O'Connell's a very good coach. He can scheme well. You've got that good defense taking on Browning. Browning came in and won the game last week, but he did throw 3 interceptions. And you've got a good Minnesota defense here that can maybe do some things and kind of win the day for them. Lines 3 across the board, -3, 42.5 or 41.5, depending on where you look for the total. This was 3.5. They got taken out once McCarthy was ruled out. I did see 2.5s pop up. Now we're back to 3. So 2-way action here. Honestly, I lean ever so slightly to the Vikings at home, just because they're at home and just because the Bengals defense is so, it's just not a good defense. But because it's 2 backup quarterbacks, there's a lot of uncertainty there. Very high variance game. I wouldn't be surprised to see this game go over the total, to be honest, because Browning has shown that in this Cincinnati system, like he's played many games for them before when Burrow has missed long periods of time. He's shown that he can put up points. And it's just a question of, can the Bengals defense allow enough points? I certainly think they can. So kind of lean a little bit to the over 41.5. That's a good number, I think, to play it at. But no, Vikings in the over, but nothing. None of it is strong. Very, 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 very light leans for those games. Okay. This is a really good game. We've got the Rams taking on the Eagles in Philly. LA catching 3.5 points on the road, total of 44.5, pretty much across the board. 3.5, although DraftKings does have a 3 up, which definitely catches my eye, right? That 3 makes me think, whoa. This opened 4.5. They were immediately bought down. Probably some services out there released it down to 3.5, 3. Man, the Eagles are enticing at 3. Think back to the games they played last year, right? I do think the Rams are better this year than they were last year. But in the games they played last year, Saquon Barkley gave them hell, all right, in both games, both matchups, regular season and playoffs. He ran all over them. He scored a bunch of touchdowns. They hung in there in the playoffs, but he iced it. He put them away. Just very, very, I don't know, man. It's just, if Philly has not looked like themselves so far, but Philly also played a divisional opponent, and then they played the Chiefs on the road in a revenge spot, and the Chiefs still have a good defense, even though their offense looks horrible. So the Eagles have definitely played 2 tougher games. The Rams are 2-0 versus the AFC South. So the Rams took care of the Texans at home in a game that they were -3, I think, and what was it, 13-9. So the Texans defense played them really well. Then they go on the road to Tennessee, and obviously the Titans do what the Titans do. So it's not the most impressive 2-0 from the Rams, but they do look better than last year. They do look good. I can't get to 3 here, though. 3 is just too low, in my opinion. I'll give you this. Jalen Hurts, when he's a home favorite and he's laying less than 7 points, he's 15-2 against the spread. And when it's less than 5 points, he's 8-0 against the spread as a home favorite of less than 5. Man, I think now -3 is -118. I think if I can get 15 or better, if I can get 3 at 15 or better, I'm playing the Eagles. So I kind of like the fading the market kind of or opposite the trendy dog here because everyone's going to be on LA thinking this is an upset with the way the Eagles have started the season. But they get up for these games the same way they just got up for the Chiefs game. They knew the Chiefs were going to give them all that they got. It didn't matter. Um, the LA offense is definitely better than Kansas City's though. But again, you've got Stafford on the road, outdoors. Not that that's a huge thing that I love to play on, but it is something to think about. Just I totally get the spot and why people want to back LA. I just can't do it at 3, man. That's a low. That's too low. So I lean Eagles. I lean Eagles in this game. All right, we've got the Steelers taking on the Patriots. Not much here for me, man. Pitt is laying 1.5 on the road. 44.5 is your total. The Pitt offense looked pitiful against the Seattle defense, which is a very good one. I don't think they're going to look as bad against the Pats. Just the smallest of leans here to the Steelers because I'm just not, the Patriots fine got their first win, but I don't think they're very good. I'm not a fan of this Patriots team. And this is a tough game. Tomlin on the road, their defense usually travels well. They had that, what was the final score? I think it was 31-17 against the Seahawks. But remember, 31 was that weird kickoff that was recovered in the end zone for a touchdown. So that game was a little closer than the final score suggests. It was 17-17 at one point. And I don't love the Pitt defense this year, but Tomlin in these spots on the road is usually good. So I would lean slightly to the under and a little bit stronger of a lean though to the Steelers. I'm just not high on this Patriots team, even as a home dog. You're not getting any key numbers here. You're getting 1.5. Maybe Steelers money line could be a look, but not just nothing much on this game. All right, we've got the Jets now taking on the Buccaneers. New York will be catching 7 on the road in Tampa. Obviously, last night, the Buccaneers have that crazy comeback win the final 2 minutes. The question here is the status of Justin Fields. So he obviously suffered that will look to be a concussion. If he plays, this number may go down. If he's out, it'll probably stay where it is. I don't think he's going to play. So I believe the backup is Taylor. Listen, do I want any part of this game? No. If you play Survivor, go ahead, take the Bucks. The Jets ain't winning, but they may cover. I just, I like Tampa Bay and teasers. No problem with that. The Jets' path to success, which we saw in week 1, is if they can run the football on you. Okay. Can they run the football on you? They were able to run it all over the Steelers. They couldn't really run it on the Bills and then had to play from behind. This Jets defense is pitiful. It is pitiful. So I expect Baker to do what Baker does. He burned me with it last night. He's going to run around, do his stupid dances and fumble the ball around, and it'll all just work out. So he's going to throw, he's going to light them up. So if the Jets have to play from behind, say goodnight. You can't run the football. You can't run the football on Tampa anyway. They stop the run so well. I mean, just look at the contrast between Bijan Robinson's week 1 and week 2. The Falcons couldn't run it all on them, and then they just slice and dice the Vikings all night long. Tampa's really good at stopping the run. So what do the Jets want to do? They want to get, obviously Fields won't play, but Fields and Hall in the running game, Braylon Allen, they want to utilize these guys on the ground like they did against the Steelers. It ain't happening against the Buccaneers. I like Tampa in teasers. I like Tampa in your money line parlays. Survivor, Tampa's a good pick. 45 is the total. No opinion there. All right, let's move over to the AFC South with the struggling Houston Texans taking on the Jacksonville Jaguars. This was a spread that was actually flipped. It's gone through 0. Houston was laying 1 on the road. Now they're catching 1. Or it's a pick 'em in some spots too. 43 or 44.5. I'm sorry, your total. I lean Jags here for a few reasons. I know Houston's going to be in desperation mode, but their offense is just not good. I mean, no matter what way you slice it, I know they've played 2 good defenses so far, but going back to last season, it's just not a good offense. They're an elite defense, and they will, limit the amount of damage that Trevor Lawrence can do here for sure. But it's just not a good offense. And I can't, you're not getting a key number. You're just getting, this is a pick'em game. It's a coin toss. I cannot trust this offense on the road in a coin toss divisional game. They're 0-2, so it'll be kitchen sink time. But, it's just I mean, and this is one of those to watch out for, right? So I give out to you guys, if you go check out shorts, or I've given out on all platforms, but I gave out one of my favorite futures, which was Texans under 9.5 wins. They're 0-2, good start. This game is going to be crucial to that because I thought they'd probably win 8 or 9 games, not more than 9.5. I thought they'd miss the playoffs. That's looking like it may happen. The teams that start 0-3, by the way, this was one of the stats I had, 2.5% chance to make the playoffs once you start 0-3. So for a lot of these teams, and this is one of them I'm looking at, obviously KC is a big one, Houston's a big one, but a lot of these teams, this is it. This is your season in week 3. Houston had a chance last night and couldn't stop Baker. 4th and 10, he got out of that. He was dead in the pocket, 4th and 10. The pocket collapsed. They had a free rusher coming at him, 4th and 10. He juked the living hell out of him and got out. I don't know how he did it, but that cost Houston maybe their season, because if you start 0-3, you're done. You're not making the playoffs. So now they go to Jacksonville, tough game. Man, I lean Jags, but I probably will just stay away from this one. But keep an eye on the Texans. I'll be keeping an eye on the Texans for our future. But yeah, I don't know. This could be the begin. Like, there's certain teams you identify early in the season. They have a lot of potential. They've got the pieces in place. It's all about, can they put it together and do they get a couple of breaks? So far, the Texans have gotten no breaks. They have not been able to put it together on offense. And this is one of those games where if they lose it, you risk the spiral, right? You risk spiraling and maybe just not even winning 8 games this year. I mean, how crazy would it be if the Texans won like 6 or 7 games? Changes would maybe come, might be coming. I don't know. So I lean Jags in this one, but it's not a very strong lean. All right, here's a game I do have some stronger opinions on. We got the Broncos taking on the Chargers, AFC West divisional game. How about the Chargers starting their season with 3 straight divisional games? Gosh, that's rough. So Denver comes in here after the walk-off loss to the Colts on that field goal, the penalty they committed. Whoops, hit the mic. Penalty that they committed. They're getting 2.5. So you got LA minus 2.5 at home, which I believe is 15. Yeah, minus 115. So maybe some money going on the LA side. I agree with that. The total's at 46, by the way, 46.5. I lean slightly to the under. I like LA in the game, though. I like the Chargers minus 2.5. Probably going to grab it before it gets to 3 across the board. But if it does get to 3, I think you might see buyback on the other side. So I think you're going to be bouncing back and forth between 2.5 and 3 here in this game. But I make the line 3.5. Now, I'm saying, a half point. It's a half point on the biggest key number in all of football. That's a big deal. So I like the Chargers minus 2.5 in this game for the same reasons that I talked about in their matchup with Vegas last night. They're just very physical. They've got a great back end on that defense. Bo Nix won't be able to throw the ball much on them. They're going to force you to dink and dunk, run the ball underneath. I'm not sure the Broncos can do that consistently. And I think Herbert, man, he's he made a couple of bad throws last night. There was one that was dropped. It should have been a pick. And sometimes he just kind of seems like a little too antsy. Like the arm is so live and he'll like overshoot guys. But when he is on, though, man, he is accurate. He's an assassin. And I think he can do some damage here. Yes, 2 elite defenses, though, which is what makes me look to the under. But I like the Chargers laying 2.5. They did beat them twice last year, took care of them in both games. The second one, the Broncos did play better offensively, but the Chargers were still able to pull away in the end. I like LA. You want to go money line. You want to add them to some parlays. I think the Chargers are going to start the season 3-0 and take care of 3 divisional opponents. I like this one. And you also got to take a look at the spot here. Yes, they're going to be at a slight rest disadvantage, but this is a 4 p.m. game on Sunday. That helps. Also, the Broncos coming off of a very tough, if you go look at the numbers, teams that come off of a very tough road loss, they don't do well against the spread. It's almost like deflating. Like, now you got to go on the road again. So you've got back-to-back road games after a very brutal loss where you lose by a point on a very long field goal. Tough spot for the Broncos. I like the Chargers in this game. You've got the Saints taking on the Seattle Seahawks. Seattle minus 7 or 7.5 at home. 41.5 is your total. I like the over in this one. Been looking at it for a while. I think you're going to see 42 start to pop up. I like over 41.5 in this game for the same reasons, for kind of like the same stuff that you saw with the Niners and the Saints game, right? Both teams are able to move the ball. I think Rattler is better than people give him credit for. The team is horrible, don't get me wrong. And they're not necessarily even playing to win, but at least I'm talking about organizationally. But but I think Rattler is better. Like Rattler in a better situation would not surprise me at all if he ended up being solid. I was a big fan of his in college. It hasn't panned out yet for him. They're not going to win this game, but I like New Orleans to put up some points. Maybe even look at New Orleans team total because you're going to have Seattle coming off of that road win. They've got a very good home field. I think you're still safe in teasers here with them, but I just think that they will see points. I think they'll be able to score on New Orleans, and I think the Saints will have to be probably playing from behind a lot, have to throw the football. This game reminds me a lot, guys, of the matchup between Arizona, Carolina this past week, where the Cardinals dominated most of the game. What was it, like 20-3, 24-3 or something? And then the fourth quarter, the Panthers, obviously nothing to lose. You just start throwing the ball, and then they start putting up points. So now they cover and the game flies over, even though they lose the game. This reminds me a lot of that, except that total was 46. This one's 41. I think it's a little bit too low. I like the over in the Saints-Seahawks game this weekend, but that's about it. As far as the side, I would be comfortable using Seattle in teasers. We haven't had a big upset yet, which is kind of interesting. Um, I saw a thing, favorites of 4 points or more going back to last season. They're 52-8 straight up. That's unbelievable. There's going to be some big upsets coming soon. I don't think this one. I think when Rattler gets his first win, it'll be at home. I think that's kind of what I'm thinking. So I don't love the Saints in this one, and I don't love the Seahawks ATS either. But I do think they'll win the game. This game is so interesting. This next one, you've got the Cowboys taking on the Bears. What this will be a game that I watch. I think this will be a very interesting game. It's a pick, guys, or Chicago is -1 in some spots, -1.5. But this game, mostly you can get it as a pick or a 1 point spread. 49.5 to 50.5 across the market is your total. I already know that there's going to be some. This opened a pick, and I know some sharp money came in on Chicago to push it up a little bit. Yes, the Bears don't want to start 0-3. Yes, the Cowboys are coming off of a miraculous win at home in overtime against a divisional opponent, and now have to go on the road outdoors where Dak has historically not been as good. I get all that, but I can't play the Bears. They're just not good. Caleb Williams is way too erratic, in my opinion, to ever be a consistent NFL quarterback. And this Dallas defense is not great. They looked horrific against the Giants, especially on the back end. But I think they'll get up for this game. All right. You guys know this about me by now. A big part of how I handicap is situational. But if there's no like crazy situational, which this kind of has a situational spot that favors the Bears, but it's not anything that blows me away. But the next pieces are, which are arguably more important, it's just simple: quarterback, head coach, and you've got the edge on one side. The Cowboys have the edge on both of those on their side. So I don't know if I can trust Caleb Williams to just win a game against a team like Dallas, which, say what you want about the defense, but that offense is good. And the Bears are still banged up in the secondary. They don't have their best corners back there. You're telling me Dak can't throw the football on this team? I think he can. At 1.5, I like the Cowboys in teasers. You can tease them up to 7.5. I like that. Although it is a higher total game, maybe some variance there, so I'd be careful. But I think the Cowboys win. I lean Cowboys in this game. I don't love. I get that everyone likes the spot for the Bears, but it's just not. It's just not for me. It goes back to the philosophy I talked about earlier. Do you bet on these untrustworthy, unreliable teams if you like the spot? Do you take a shot on them, or are you a bit more selective, a bit more careful? I think 3 years ago I would have been on the Bears in this game, 2 years ago, but I've gotten to the point now where I'm a bit more selective, and I try to stick to the philosophy of trying to avoid these teams where you watch the game and, let's say the Bears are up 3 in the middle of the fourth quarter and Caleb Williams throws a pick 6, right? And they lose the game. Nobody would be super stunned by that result. But if I'm sitting there with a Bears ticket, I'm like, yeah, of course. Of course that would happen. It's the Bears. Like like my team, the Jets, is no knock on the Bears. They do this shit all the time. Do I want to be holding that team's ticket unless I'm getting multiple key numbers and it's a great situational spot? Probably not. If the Bears were plus 3.5 in this game, I'd be approaching it differently. But I got to lay 1. I don't like it. I like the Cowboys in the game. All right, let's move over to the next one. We've got the Cardinals taking on the 49ers. This is going to be Kyler Murray versus Mac Jones, baby. Mac attack. He got us a cash on Sunday, laying 3 at New Orleans. That was a good game. I thought he played very well. We'll talk more about that. But Niners laying 1.5 at home. They were catching 1.5. So an early move came in, flipped this line. Now it's San Francisco minus 1.5. 43.5 to 44 is your total across the board. This is an interesting one because you want to see now game 2 with Mac Jones, right? You have some film now. They go into New Orleans. You know you're not going to have Purdy. The Saints can't really prepare that well. Even with that happening, the Saints were able to move the ball on the Niners defense. Okay. They had the ball in hand, 2 minutes left, with a chance to go win the game, down 5. Okay. The defense comes up with a huge stop to win the game. Now, Kyler Murray, though, is not Spencer Rattler. Do I love Kyler Murray? No. Am I high on this Arizona team? No. Have they beaten anybody at this season? Hell no. They've beaten the Saints and they've beaten the Panthers. They've beaten literally the bottom 2 teams in my power ratings. So that's what the Cardinals have done so far this season. Now they go on the road to a divisional opponent, plus 1.5. I don't know. I like the Niners. That's where I'm getting at in this. I think the Niners have played tougher competition so far, even though they just had the game with the Saints. But I don't know. It's very much to me a toss-up game, but I like the way Mac Jones played. He was not afraid to take chances. He had a kind of like a chip on his shoulder. He had a vibe about him. I liked it. And the last time I talked about this in my write-up for the game, the San Francisco -3 play. The last time Mac Jones had a normal situation around him, he won 10 games and made the playoffs with the Patriots. When he had a good coach and a good defense, and now he's got a good coach and a good defense. Shanahan is good with these kind of average quarterbacks. You've got, again, what do we talk about here? Quarterback, head coach. You don't have the quarterback edge. I will give that to Murray, but he's prone to making mistakes as well. But you do have the head coaching edge. You're at home. You're not laying any point, 1.5. You can take money line minus 125, I think. I lean 49ers in the game, but if you said you're playing Arizona in teasers, yeah, can't knock that. It's a 43 totals of 43, so points should be at a premium. I do expect a better effort from the San Francisco defense at home because allowing the Saints to move the ball that much on you and score 3 touchdowns and still be in that game late was a little weird. I think they'll be better at home. The question here is, to me, the question in this game is, like, I'm confident that the Niners will put up at least 20 points against this 21, 24 points, something like that against this Arizona defense. The question here is Shanahan and Saleh scheming against Kyler Murray, right? You got, look at the history they have against them. I think they can do a pretty good job. I like the Niners in this game. The Niners start 3-0. That'll be good for our win total. We have over on them. The Purdy injury complicates that a little bit, but they're still 2-0, so good start. I think they can win this game. So I like San Francisco, but it's just a lean at this point. All right, Sunday Night Football, you've got the Chiefs taking on the Giants. KC is now laying 6. This was 5.5, and you're starting to see 6.5s pop up. I totally agree with this move. This is do or die. Total's at 45, by the way. The Giants give up. I mean, that game last week, that might be the best you see the Giants offense look all year. Okay. When they played the Commanders in week 1, it was brutal. I think it's going to look brutal again against it. I think everyone's going to think, oh, yeah, no, Russ is back. He's throwing the deep ball and everything. They're not doing that against the Chiefs. They're not doing that. This is it. Kansas City, you cannot go 0-3. This is it. Now, it doesn't mean they cover. So I'm not saying to lay 6 on the road, but I agree with the move. I think it's more likely that slightly more likely they cover than they don't. But I love KC as your like money line parlay piece of the week. Just last week was Baltimore. Remember I told you guys just take Baltimore, throw them in every parlay, or combine them with every straight bet. I think that's KC for this week. So I would throw the Chiefs in your money line parlays. I would tease the Chiefs down from 6.5, no problem. They're going to win this game. The Giants are not going to beat them. But that's about all I have. For the total, lean slightly under as well because everyone's going to see the Giants come off of that huge offensive explosion. Assume that that's not going to continue. That was just a weird outlier game where both defenses were gassed. The game was moving very fast late, bunch of touchdowns, bunch of deep balls caught. Incredibly low chance that happens again. So I lean under, and I like the Chiefs to win the game straight up. Monday Night Football, we'll wrap it up with the game of the week. Lions taking on the Ravens. Detroit is catching 5 to 5.5 on the road in this game with a total of 51.5. You may recall that the last time these two teams played, it was in Baltimore, just like this game will be. But it was a day game, I believe, and it was a bloodbath. Okay, the Ravens killed the Lions. My only concern, I lean Ravens in the game. Okay, I think they're another good money line piece. I lean -5. Here's my one hesitation. Detroit looked much better last week, but that was indoors at home against a bad team. When last time they were outdoors on the road against a good team, they did not look good. Okay, my one concern though is it's like this is going to be a stupid analogy, but like if you're walking down the street and you trip on a crack in the sidewalk, right? Let's say you fall down. And then the next time you're walking down that street, you're going to know that there's a crack in the sidewalk, right? So you're going to try to avoid it. I think the Lions are going to try to avoid the crack, which was what happened last time to them. It's a stupid analogy, but if you get what I'm saying, like they're coming in. Last time they came in, there was there was nothing to compare it to before. They get their doors completely blown off, dominated. I think it was like 30 to 3 or something crazy like that. Now they're going to come in remembering that happened and know, you know, the theme of the week is going to be this ain't happening again. Remember what happened last time, revenge. So for me, that gives me a little pause. But I think clearly Baltimore's the better team. The number seems good to me. The number seems right. It's just about, I think I'm getting to the point, guys, with NFL, and we just had a really good week 2 where I implemented this strategy, but I'm getting to the point where it's like, I don't care about looking cool or sharp anymore about like, yeah, we're going to lay the points here. They're going to smash them. And then it comes to fruition. I just care about getting good teams in spots to win games and trying to avoid the law, not so much find more winners, but avoid more losers. And this is one of those games where it's just like, take the Ravens and money line and combine it with another team. Ravens Chiefs is probably close to even money. If you just put them two together, the Chiefs ain't losing, and I think the Ravens could win. Now, could the far more the far less surprising outcome would be the Lions. Like if the Lions win, nobody would be like super shocked. It's an upset, but it's not like, it's the Detroit Lions. They won 15 games last year, 14 games. So it wouldn't be crazy, but I think the Ravens are going to win the game. It goes back to the Ravens offense, really. I mean, they the game with the Browns, just like I said, don't overreact to the final score with the Browns. Also, don't overreact to the fact that the Browns were sticking with them for so long because that's a divisional game. They know each other, and it's Flacco back in Baltimore, right? Like, there's none of that in this game. It's non-divisional, non-conference. By the way, Lamar's record against the AFC is bananas. I'll have to pull it up. If you guys want to wait a second, I can pull it up. But he's like, it's insane. Lamar straight up versus NFC teams is 24-2. 92% straight up. So he's also, by the way, the best, like if you don't want to lay the 5, he's the best first half quarterback in the NFL by a lot. ATS 60-34, 64% against the spread in the first half, 2-0 so far this season in the first half. You've got a bunch of stuff here for pointing you to the Ravens. Nothing on the other side for Detroit. So I like Baltimore in that game. But probably going to try to put them in something money line wise. All right, that's your week 3, guys. I will be back later in the week with college stuff like we did last week where I posted like my 3 favorite college spots. I'll come back with that. If I release a free pick, it will be in shorts style like I did with the Chargers yesterday. So obviously I love doing these long form talks each week on the NFL, but there'll also be short stuff gets posted. That's be like if I have an official pick that I release and I want to share it with you guys, that's where it will go. So check that out. Don't forget to sign up for your free pick text as well right here, wherever it is. Forget what the graphic is. But thank you guys for watching as always. I'll catch you next week.